If you feel something is off and you suspect she's been with someone else, but she keeps denying it, listen closely. I'm about to give you 7 psychological phrases that force the truth out without arguments, without accusations, and without drama. These are rooted in female psychology, and when delivered the right way, they work almost every time. The secret is staying calm, controlled, and unshaken when you use them. Hit that like button and subscribe right now because you won't hear these techniques anywhere else. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see where the Alpha Truths audience is tuning in from. The calm trap. How staying calm and composed disarms her defenses and makes her reveal the truth. The reverse confidence check. Using a statement instead of a question to test her reaction. The silent pause. Strategic silence after a phrase that forces her to fill the gap with honesty. The pattern recognition call-out. Pointing out changes in her routine or energy without accusation. The future frame. Phrasing questions about the future to expose guilt about the past. The loyalty contrast. Mentioning loyalty as a standard to see if she resists or admits. The emotional consistency test. Using a phrase that highlights inconsistency between her words and actions. The calm trap. The most powerful weapon you can use against a guilty woman is not anger, not shouting, not demanding answers. It's calmness. When a man loses his composure, she immediately goes on defense. She starts crying, playing victim, flipping the blame back on you, and suddenly, you're the one apologizing while the truth remains buried. But when you stay calm, collected, and emotionally in control, you flip the script. She expects a fight. She expects accusations. She expects drama. What she never expects is silence mixed with composure. That's why calmness is a trap. When you deliver a phrase in a steady, almost detached tone, it cuts deeper than shouts ever could. She feels the pressure without you even raising your voice. Something as simple as saying, "You don't need to explain. The truth always comes out eventually." In a calm voice forces her mind to race. Did you find out something? Do you already know? Is there proof? The more calm you remain, the more her nerves betray her. Guilt doesn't thrive in silence. It thrives in chaos and arguments. When you take that away, she has nothing to hide behind. Calmness also puts you in control of the frame. She realizes she can't manipulate your emotions, and that loss of power pushes her closer to revealing what she's been hiding. If she slept with someone else, she expects you to blow up so she can react to your anger instead of facing her own guilt. But when she sees you won't explode, when she sees your silence and calmness, the weight shifts. The trap is set. Every word you say feels heavier. Every pause feels longer. Every look feels sharper. And eventually, she cracks under the pressure she thought she could escape with excuses. The reverse confidence check. The mistake most men make is asking direct questions like, "Did you sleep with someone else?" The problem with that approach is she's already prepared for it. She has her denial rehearsed, her tone ready, and her poker face trained. But when you flip the script and use a statement instead of a question, it shakes her balance. That's what I call the reverse confidence check. Instead of asking, you assert. Instead of giving her a chance to lie comfortably, you create a moment where her reaction becomes the real answer. Imagine calmly saying, "I already know you've been with someone else." You're not screaming. You're not begging. You're not even giving her the option to control the conversation. You've planted a seed of certainty, and now you're watching how she waters it. If she's innocent, her energy is consistent and steady. She'll want clarity, she'll challenge you directly, she'll even push back with confidence. But if she's guilty, the first crack shows in her body language. The nervous smile, the sudden defensiveness, the exaggerated denial. It's not about what she says, it's about how she reacts when the ground under her feels unstable. The reverse confidence check works because it forces her to expose herself without you demanding it. A guilty person can fake calmness for a short moment, but when the frame shifts against them, their instincts take over. She may over-explain, she may get angry, or she may even go quiet, but every reaction reveals more than a polished denial ever could. This approach shows you who she really is under pressure. When you speak as if you already know the truth, you take away her illusion of control. You force her to either align with the truth or break herself trying to keep the lie together. The silent pause. Silence is one of the most underrated weapons a man can use when searching for the truth. Most men panic in moments of tension and try to fill the space with more words, more questions, or more explanations. But when you master silence, you turn the pressure back on her without lifting a finger. The silent pause is not about ignoring her. It's about strategically creating a gap right after you drop a phrase that touches her guilt. That pause becomes a mirror, and in that mirror, she sees her own lies staring back at her. Imagine saying something calm like, "People eventually reveal who they really are," and then going completely quiet. No reaction, no follow-up, no nervous laugh, just silence. That gap forces her mind into overdrive. She starts wondering what you know, how much you've seen, or whether you already have proof. The silence is unbearable for someone carrying a secret, because she's desperate to control the narrative, but you've denied her the chance by refusing to fill the space. The beauty of the silent pause is that it makes her words work against her. A guilty woman will almost always rush to explain, clarify, or justify something you never directly accused her of. She'll overtalk, she'll trip over her sentences, or she'll try to change the subject. But every attempt to escape the silence only makes her guilt clearer. An innocent woman has no reason to fear the pause. She'll sit in it calmly or respond with certainty because she has nothing to hide. When you combine composure with silence, you create a psychological trap. You aren't chasing the truth. You're letting the truth chase her. That's why the silent pause is so effective. It removes the shield of noise and leaves her face to face with the weight of her own actions. The pattern recognition call-out. One of the most overlooked but most powerful ways to corner a woman into revealing the truth is by calling out the patterns she thought you never noticed. Cheating rarely happens in silence. It leaves trails, subtle but consistent. Maybe she suddenly guards her phone like it's her lifeline. Maybe she starts working late without reason. Or maybe her affection swings wildly between being distant and then overly sweet. These shifts aren't random. They're signals. And when you calmly highlight them, you force her to face the cracks in her own story. The pattern recognition call-out works because it isn't an accusation, it's an observation. When you say something like, "You don't smile at me the way you used to, but your energy is different when you come back from being out." You're not yelling, you're not chasing. You're simply holding up a mirror. That mirror is what terrifies her because she realizes you're not blind. You've seen the changes she thought she could slip past you. Now every excuse she tries to make feels weaker. Every denial sounds thinner. What makes this technique powerful is that it removes the cover of, "You're just being insecure." Many men get gaslit into believing they're overreacting, but when you calmly list undeniable shifts in behavior, it can't be brushed off as paranoia. You've drawn the map, and she has to walk it. If she's guilty, her reaction will tell you everything. She might stumble trying to justify why her patterns have changed, or she might even deflect to blame you. But the more you keep the spotlight on her inconsistencies, the less room she has to hide. A guilty woman fears nothing more than a man who pays attention, because patterns never lie. And once you call them out, neither can she. The future frame. When a woman has crossed the line, she lives with two realities. One is the story she tells you in the present, and the other is the guilt she carries from the past. The key is to use the future to expose the past. That's what the future frame does. Instead of questioning her about what already happened, you shift the conversation toward what's coming next. You ask or state things that require her to imagine a future with you, and in that moment, her past actions collide with the vision she's trying to sell you. For example, calmly saying, "I need to know I can trust you with my future," places her in a mental trap. If she's clean, she'll look you in the eye with confidence and reassurance. She'll embrace the statement without hesitation. But if she's guilty, that phrase becomes a trigger. Suddenly she feels the weight of what she's already done, and it leaks into her body language, her tone, and her words. She might dodge the subject. She might downplay the idea of long-term trust, or she might try to flip the responsibility back on you. All of it reveals the cracks. The beauty of the future frame is that it doesn't sound like an interrogation. It sounds like vision, like leadership, like a man laying down the foundation of what he expects. But underneath that, it creates a battlefield she can't win if she's hiding betrayal. The past she's concealing makes her stumble when the conversation moves to the future. Guilt doesn't like forward vision because it can't reconcile with what's already broken. That's why this technique forces her into a corner. By framing everything in terms of tomorrow, you pull her guilt from yesterday straight into the light today. The loyalty contrast. Every woman loves to speak about loyalty when it benefits her, but the real test comes when loyalty is reflected back on her. The loyalty contrast is a phrase or statement that draws a line in the sand between what loyalty should look like and what she's actually giving. When you bring up loyalty not as a demand but as a standard, you're forcing her to measure herself against it. And if she's guilty, that contrast feels like a spotlight burning through her mask. It can be as simple as saying, "I've always believed loyalty is the foundation of respect." Notice what happens next. If she's clean, she'll agree without hesitation, her body language open, her tone steady. But if she's crossed the line, suddenly that simple truth feels like an accusation. She might get defensive. She might try to redirect by saying things like, "Well, nobody's perfect," or, "What about your loyalty?" The guilty always scramble to blur the definition because they can't stand firm when the standard is clear. The loyalty contrast works because it doesn't attack directly. You're not accusing her of anything. You're simply highlighting a principle and letting her own reaction reveal whether she aligns with it or resists it. That's why it's one of the cleanest traps you can set. Loyalty isn't negotiable. It's either there or it isn't. And when you calmly put it on the table, you leave her with nowhere to hide. Cheating women often convince themselves they can compartmentalize, that what they did in secret doesn't bleed into the relationship. But when loyalty is spoken out loud, the wall crumbles. Her guilt starts pulling at her words, her tone, her eyes, and that's when the truth begins to leak. Not because you forced it, but because loyalty itself became the mirror she couldn't escape. The emotional consistency test. Every woman knows how to say the right words. She can tell you she loves you. She can tell you you're the only one. She can promise that nothing has changed. But words without alignment are meaningless. That's why the emotional consistency test is one of the most effective ways to expose the truth. It isn't about what she says in the moment. It's about whether her emotions and actions line up with those words over time. And when you bring that inconsistency to light with a calm phrase, it shakes her entire act. For example, you might say, "Your words say one thing, but your energy says something else." That single phrase forces her into a corner. If she's innocent, she'll respond with clarity and conviction, her emotions matching the loyalty she claims. But if she's guilty, her mask begins to slip. She might get defensive and insist you're imagining things, or she may try to flip the blame back on you. The guilty always fight hardest when their inconsistencies are exposed. The power of this test lies in the fact that emotions can't be faked forever. A woman who has betrayed you might still speak the language of love, but her body, her tone, her presence will eventually betray her. When you highlight that disconnect, you make it impossible for her to comfortably maintain the lie. She feels cornered because she knows you've noticed the gap between what she says and how she truly shows up. The emotional consistency test strips away her ability to hide behind empty promises. It demands that her actions prove her words, and that's something a guilty woman cannot sustain. When her behavior and her language no longer match, the truth bleeds through the cracks she thought she had under control.